Thank you everyone for coming, and we should go ahead and kick off our annual summer session scheduling training, where we'll talk about all the things that Lisa and her team do, and then all the things that you need to do in the ISA to get your summer session classes scheduled. So we'll start off with introductions in just a second. Then Lisa and Yvonne will talk about the differences in summer session, timelines, and some tips. And then I will cover the ISA, some changes for those who either haven't done summer before or have, getting used to all the changes that have happened, especially with the new cross-enrolled features that have been released, and then how to go through that process. And then we'll have a brief Q&A at the end with whatever time is left. Go ahead.
Perfect. So hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Bargabas. I'm the summer session business manager. And I brought Yvonne with me. Yvonne is fairly new. How long have you been here now, Yvonne, in summer session?
April.
Since April. So maybe say hello to everybody and introduce your background a little bit.
Hi, everyone. Been in this role since the end of April, but been on campus as within student affairs for the last 10 years. So served in different departments.
Great. We're excited to have Yvonne with us on the team. Yay. And of course, Eric.
Yeah, my name is Eric Winterville-Luce. I am located in the School of Biological Sciences. I'm a technical project manager for the ISA, a number of bioscience-specific applications, and sometime soon, a couple of other campus-wide applications to be announced.
Oh, exciting. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about how summer is different from the academic year, just to give you some context on why scheduling is done a little bit differently for summer courses, right? Like in this chart, you can see the terms. Fall, winter, and spring are 10-week quarters each. And then summer is not really a fourth quarter. It's treated differently. We have courses that can be 3 weeks long, 5 weeks, or 8 weeks. There's even a 10-week session as well. Student population, students don't have to come take classes in the summer. It's completely optional. So we have about, half, maybe a little less than half of the students you would normally see on campus during fall, winter, spring. Another thing that's different, though, is that enrollment is not limited to UCSD students. We have students from other UC campuses will come and take classes in the summer. Students who are enrolled at other universities who want to come and take a summer class here. We even have high school students who, want to get a jump start and come and take classes over the summer. And usually those high school students do very well. So it's a little bit different in summer. The tuition and fees, where there's full-time status and part-time status during the academic year, and there are extra fees for non-resident students. But in summer, it's a per unit tuition. There's no extra charge for non-resident students. So it's the same per unit charge, for residents and non-residents. There is a cheaper fee for UC students versus like a visitor from another university. So the per unit charge is a little bit different amount depending on if they're a UC student or not. For faculty, the faculty is part of your department, right? You have contracts for your faculty, either by the quarter or like an annual contract. And the teaching load is part of the contract. Your divisional dean approves any visiting professors or visiting lecturers. And the registrar handles adding all the names to the schedule of classes for all your instructors. But in summer, all the faculty are paid by summer session. We have a fixed percentage payment per course based on their annual salary that's proposed. No faculty are required to teach in summer. So we do have a large visiting population of instructors who come and teach as visiting lecturers or visiting professors. And then we do have about 200 grad students who teach in the summer, which is way larger than like during a fall, winter, and spring. The Dean of Undergrad Education approves any visiting professors and lecturers. So it's not going through your divisional dean's office. It's coming through summer session and the Dean of Undergrad Education. And then summer session is paying and we're overseeing when appointments are approved. Summer session adds the names to the schedule of classes in the summer. On the course side, fall, winter, and spring, you guys just work directly with registrar for all aspects of your scheduling. But in summer, summer session approves the courses that are being offered, mainly because, you know, we're building the program, we're paying the faculty payroll expenses. We're trying to make sure we have a balanced offering of courses for the students in the summer. So we oversee that piece. And then there is a little, we'll go through today how that works, how summer session is kind of involved now in approving things. After summer session approves the courses, then departments work directly with registrar to schedule, you know, rooms, days, times, all the things you normally work with registrar for. Okay, next slide, Eric. Okay, so after you're going to use the ISA to build your schedule like you normally do, fall, winter, spring. We have this extra step in the summer session schedule builder, which we'll get to in a minute. But after you submit your schedule and there's changes, when you're changing days and times of courses, summer session doesn't need to be involved in that process. So you'll just email registrar directly like you would during fall, winter, spring. If you're changing an instructor of a course, summer session needs to know because we're going to have to create an offer letter for the new instructor, and I'm going to have to cancel the contract for the instructor you had before. So that change needs to go into the summer session schedule builder. So that, and that will flag me in summer session that there's been an instructor change. So that's why we need you to do that piece. And same if you're changing session. If you're offering a course in session 1 and you're changing it to session 2, we're going to ask you to cancel the session 1 course and add a new course in the other session. That affects the payroll date. If someone teaches in session 1 versus session 2, there's different paycheck dates. So I would need to issue a new contract, pay them on the different pay date. So that's why summer session needs to be involved in approving, you know, canceling the course and adding a new course. And then registrar will take over and make that change on the schedule. If you're canceling a course, the Dean of Undergrad Education and AVC Carlos Jensen both want to be in the loop on when classes are canceled in summer. So summer session does have to approve when a course is being canceled. It's not like, oftentimes we can't say, no, you can't cancel that course, because if the instructor's not available and you don't have anyone to teach, it's not like we're going to stop you from canceling the class. But we just need to review and know the reason and what's happening. So in the summer session schedule builder, you'll request cancellation. Summer session reviews it and approves it. You know, you set enrollment to 0, notify the students like you always do. Email registrar to cancel the course, and registrar will check and make sure summer session has approved the cancellation before they move forward and cancel the class on the schedule. And then summer session cancels the appointment for the instructor. So it's kind of like 3-way communication with department, registrar, and summer session when something's canceled. Okay, next slide, Eric. So timeline, November 15th is when summer session would like to see what courses you're planning to offer. You don't need to have like the days and times all mapped out right now. We just want to know which courses and what session they're being offered in. And so that you're just going to put in the summer session schedule builder and submit it to summer session by November 15th. In December, by December 15th, summer session will approve your courses. So the status of your courses will change from pending to like approved. And then we will put on the summer session website a list of the courses, like we call it a preview of courses for summer 2024. That way, when students are going home for Christmas on the winter break, they can talk about what they want to do in summer. Is the class they want to take going to be offered? We're already getting questions about summer 2024. So we find the students really like seeing the preview, so they can start making plans for the summer. And then when we come back from the holiday, summer session's asking if you can submit your schedule builder registrar by January 16th. That date is going to be different from Kimberly's closing the ISA date. We're building in a little bit of a buffer. But if you can target January 16th to get your schedule build submitted, then we'll be in good shape. Next slide, please, Eric. That schedule build deadline to registrar is really important. Last summer, there were about like 19 departments, I think, that didn't submit their schedule build to registrar in the ISA. And that has a lot of downstream impacts, right? You're going to have, what that means is if you miss the deadline to submit your schedule in the ISA, you're going to have to manually fill in a spreadsheet to registrar for your summer session terms. And it's not going to get processed until after the last look comes out. So when the schedule goes live in March, your classes may not all be on the schedule. And I'll tell you, we hear from students a lot that right when the schedule goes live, that's when they go and look to see when the class they want is being offered. And they decide if they're going to take a class in the summer or if they're going to get an internship or a job or something or travel. So we really want to make sure as many classes as possible are on that schedule when it goes live in March. Exactly, Kimberly. Also, general use classroom space may be limited or not available. You're going to have to be flexible because your first choice is probably not going to be available at that point when you miss that deadline. And then the other thing is that summer session will not post names on the schedule for grad students who need to be approved through the IA system, by grad division, by GEPA. And then we also won't put names on if it's a visiting instructor who needs to be approved by the Dean of Undergrad Education. But all the other names, like current faculty, current lecturers, will go on the schedule automatically when you submit your schedule build to registrar. But if they have to be added, if you miss that deadline, summer session, we have to go in and manually add all those instructor names to the schedule. And it's kind of a time-consuming process. There's like a few screens in ISIS involved for each course and each name that gets added. We got names on really late last year. We know that students sometimes don't enroll if they don't know who's teaching. So I don't know. Is there any other thing you want to say about that, Kimberly, about missing the deadline? The point about the rooms is really good.
For our purposes, the rooms is the most critical thing. If your class isn't in the mix when we run the computer program to place rooms and those rooms fill up, you kind of lost your chance. And so you're limited to what's available at the time that the look goes out.
Yeah. Thank you. So summer session is saying if you can target January 16th, then you'll be good. Everything's golden. And we won't have to worry about all these downstream impacts to your department and to your students and to summer session and registrar. Less stressful for everybody. Okay, next slide, please. So some tips for success. Again, just repeating, all your course submissions and changes need to be done in the ISA. The ISA is like our master list. Like before the ISA, I would manage the payroll based on emails coming in that, oh, there's been an instructor change and a class change. And I was always so afraid I would, pay someone who didn't teach or pay them on the wrong date or, lots of problems. So I'm so thankful that we have this central dashboard in the ISA where we are using that as our master list for payroll. If you have a topics class, make sure to include the subtitle so students know what the class is about. If your faculty are doing special courses that are in special programs like a global seminar or travel study or summer bridge or summer engineering institute, please make sure to include those courses when you submit your schedule. Quick note about modality. So we've made it pretty clear to campus leadership and academic senate that it's really important for you guys to know now if remote modality is an option, because it's so hard to go back in January and redo the schedule you've already put together, right? January, February, like you've already talked to your faculty probably, and then you're going back and redoing work. But we still do not have official notice on whether remote modality will be allowed for summer 2024. Unless the course is a designated R online course. UCOP really liked that our enrollments went up after 2020. But the reason the enrollments went up in summer is because students could go home, see their families, or travel and still take a class remotely. But I know Academic Senate does not want to fully embrace online classes in the summer. So we're still waiting, you guys, on whether remote modality will be approved or not. If you can, in the notes, this was actually in the call letter as well that went out to chairs and deans and departments. There's a notes to summer session box. If you can just put in there if the instructor teaching the class would be willing to teach remotely, if remote modality is approved, that would help us be able to reach out to you when we know, when we hear a final decision on the modality. That would be helpful. So you could just put a note in there on whether it could be offered remotely. Otherwise, we're moving forward as if it's in person for the moment. Let's see, we have some links here, just, some documents that might help you. The 5-year, the guidebook, of course, has like policies, procedures. The 5-year report shows your courses and enrollments that your departments offered the past 5 years. So you might find that useful to see which courses the students are really needing, which ones have not done as well. And that's in Tableau now. So if you have trouble accessing it, let me know. It should just use your AD account to get in. And then ISA Quick Start is just if you're like a brand new scheduler, that might help you get started using the ISA for your summer schedule. If you're offering a class in special session, we do have different length terms, right? But you only have like 3 choices for a 3-week class and 1 choice of terms for an 8-week class and a 10-week class. If you do the next slide, Eric, I think I have, okay, so these are the dates. When it's special session, you got to tell us which subterm you're putting it in. Is it the 8-week, the 10-week, or one of the 3-week terms? And we have a July 1st start date for summer 24. These dates are also in the guidebook if you want to reference them later. Okay, next slide. And then I just wanted to make a comment about standard teaching times. For students to get financial aid in the summer, they need to enroll in a minimum of 6 units. So most students are going to be taking 2 courses. They might be in the same session. They might take one in session 1, one in session 2. But to support students taking multiple classes, we do want to adhere to these standard teaching times so that students might have a back-to-back class. We don't want classes to be overlapping, right? And it's a better use of classroom space too, when we're all following the standard teaching times that are available in summer. So these are also in the guidebook. Yeah, if you're using general classroom space, you have to use standard teaching times. Okay. I think that's it. Does anyone have questions about like the summer session side of things? Okay, Yvonne and I will be here if you have questions. Oh, Eric, that's adorable. All right, 2-minute break.
The session is being recorded and will be posted within a couple of days. And then I'll send out an email to all the course schedulers with the link.
Meredith, do you have a question?
I did. I thought of it when you said the 2-minute break though, so sorry. So right now the departments are sending in the courses that we think may be offered over the summer. And let's say not all of the courses will be offered. Does that mean we just have to wait till the courses are approved and then cancel it?
Let me unmute. That works better. You can still make changes in the ISA after that November 15th deadline. So if you realize, oh no, we're not going to offer that class, you can go ahead and submit a cancellation. It might just sit there a bit until we review the current slate, but you can add more and cancel as needed if you at that point.
Okay.
It's
Well,
not, we realize the schedule is not set in stone, right? You're going to be probably making changes all throughout winter quarter and spring quarter. So it's not a problem.
Okay. And if it goes past the November 15th deadline, let's just say we just didn't know, or we need to add a class, or we're like, oh, we can't offer that. Is it then okay to cancel it after the approval on December 15th?
Sure. Yeah. You can cancel it at any time.
Okay. And if we need to add though, that's when the issue happens that we have to do it. We have to reach out to Reg. You have to add in the instructor, all of the downstream impacts that you were referring to.
Yeah, that's like after the January deadline. Like if you miss the deadline to submit your full schedule to registrar, that's when there's big problems.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's hop back in and we're going to talk about the ISA. So what is it, for those of you who aren't aware? It is the central campus tool for building your schedules, your preliminary schedules, making sure those schedules are valid, that they will work in ISIS, and then sending them to the registrar in order to get them into ISIS and on the schedule classes. And then obviously for summer session, it's also relevant for making sure you get both course and instructor approval. We are continuing to work on it. We're doing releases, several times a year in order to either add new features or enhance existing features or find other ways to save time. Our ISA work group is crucial in that process, and they give us lots and lots of information and lots of feedback on ways to save time. We can't always implement everything. We're funded at 1 FTE of development time. And so that means I have 2 part-time developers working on it, and we get to what we are able to. We try to work in some bonus things, and our current focus has been to get the entire scheduling process built out within the ISA. So that's the next thing that we're going to work on, is going to be post-look activities. So understanding the differences between what's in the ISA and what's on ISIS, and requesting changes based on those differences. We're going to start development on that pretty soon. Why do you have to use it? Consistency, reliability, standardization, validation, and then ultimately saving time as we go deeper and deeper into the schedule making process. So that is really the big thing. It's to remove variability as much as possible, to really get everyone on the same page, and also just to get rid of the regular like hard to notice like validation errors that were happening. Everything from not every component of a class being scheduled to enrollment limits not adding up. You have let's say you have 5 discussion sections with 20 seats each, but then your enrollment limit on your lecture is set to 150, and it's like, well, that doesn't add up, right? So all these sorts of little things like that. There's a number of things that we're not going to cover today, just for time. We're not going to talk about the updated copy schedule functionality that was released about a year ago. We're not going to go through the instructor communication side of things. We're not going to talk about some of the time saving things like course instructor groups, so you should definitely use them. We're going to talk about custom time blocks. You should consider using them, although if you can use standard time blocks, absolutely, it makes everyone's life a little easier. We're not going to talk about the schedule submission statuses after you have sent things to the registrar, and we're not going to talk about the look. How do you get help? Well, come to office hours. We'll announce our summer and fall office hours. Those will usually happen toward the tail end of each of those windows, usually within the last couple of weeks, just to get questions as folks are actually working on that part of their schedule. We have user documentation available within the ISA. Just click on that link on the bottom left. There's also a send feedback button that creates a ticket, or you can send an email to isa-help@ucsd.edu. This also creates a ticket. Or you can reach out to your ISA workgroup rep. At this point, pretty much everyone has a rep. At the top, this information is also available on Blink. I'll give everyone like 5 seconds to find their school and then to see, oh, these are the people I can reach out to for help. This would be more of the how-to sorts of questions. If you're having a bug, absolutely reach out to us and create a ticket. You can also reach out to us with how-to questions, but we're much more likely to refer you to one of our work group members. You can find out more information on Blink. You can just search for ISA or instructional scheduling assistant there. You don't need to copy the link. All right, so this is the overview of how the process works in the ISA. Create your schedule, your like big structure of the schedule, not all the details in the summer session schedule builder. Send that to summer session, wait/get approval for the classes and instructors. Finish your schedule build. 3 and 4 absolutely happen at the same time. And then finally, at the end of, by the end of the registrar deadline, or in this case, January 16th of next year, submit your preliminary schedules to the registrar scheduling team. So we're going to go through this in order. So how to build. So the main way is summer session schedule builder. But the main thing you want to make sure you're doing is working in your the current working year. That should happen automatically for folks. But in case you're in the wrong spot, if you're on the summer session page, you can just click that switch to working year link and you will go ahead and get there. And then you can see it's updated to the correct year and you'll see the deadline and any other information there. But in terms of how to get started, the fastest way is to copy classes from prior terms. So if you offer 50-80% of your schedule is the same every summer with the same instructors, then just copy it from the previous summer terms. So you can copy S1, S2, and S3. You copy by term, to term. It's no longer an annual copy, so definitely make sure to look at those release notes that went out last year. And if you have questions about that, then hopefully we'll have some updated documentation on that soon. The other option is to start from scratch. So if you're building for the first time or for classes that you're not able to copy, or to mix and match. So copy what you can to save yourself time and then add those other things in manually. So how to start from scratch. So this is in the summer session schedule builder. So this is very much like the annual schedule builder. It's basically the same interface. You just go and you add a new class. You fill out the basic information. The one thing on that screen that's optional is projection enrollment. We're going to go through what all of that looks like. Make sure that instruction types are correct. And that's based on course approvals. So this is the basic view. You'll select your instruction type for your primary section. For a good chunk of classes, that's going to be lecture, but for classes that have some other instruction types other than lecture and don't have a lecture section, then it's basically up to you. So seminar, etc. There's some new stuff to keep in mind for cross-listed or conjoined. If it is a cross-listed class, you'll see this extra little piece of information. It'll tell you what classes it's supposed to be cross-listed with. And then you have to select a lead unit. The lead unit defines the structure of the class. The only thing that isn't defined by the lead unit are the enrollment limits for individual components for each of the units. overall enrollment limit is covered by the lead unit, but I will point you to our cross enrolled class schedule training that is posted and available on Blink, YouTube, etc. That I've sent an email about as well. So yeah, so you've done that initial build, either via copying or creating from scratch, and now we're going to move on to sending to summer session. So, okay, so on the summer session schedule builder, there's this button for send to summer session when you are ready to go, and you can do this multiple times. It's not a one-time thing for this. So if you know, 3 weeks before the deadline, 2 weeks before the deadline, if you know what you've got like 80% of your stuff, you can send it and summer session can start their approvals. And then as you get more information over the next couple of weeks, you can continue to add things, change details, etc., and then send those updates to summer session. You have to attest that you have brought all the people in your unit into this process. So make sure to do that. Make sure to do those activities and don't just check the boxes without doing those activities. There's a couple differences when submitting to some summer session if it's cross enrolled. Only the lead unit can send a class to summer session. So if you're not the lead unit for a class, I'll show you what that interface looks like in a second, then those classes aren't going to be sent by you. You'll need to chase that lead unit if they're not doing it, or you can switch yourself over to lead if that's appropriate and then submit in order to get that summer session approval. When you click on that send to summer session button, all your unsent classes will be sent to summer session, including any cross-enrolled classes that you are the lead unit. So here's the difference in what it looks like when you're submitting a list of classes that includes cross-enrolled classes. So the first thing is you can see that one that has the X next to it. That's because in this case, Econ is the lead unit for that offering of Poly 5D. And apparently I've got a broken primary section code, but don't worry about that. It's a validation thing that will get caught before sending to the registrar. And then there's this additional attestation that basically says, hey, I'm communicating with everyone that I'm submitting classes for. I'm not doing this without talking to, in this case, Econ. So make sure to do that. Don't just check the box. And then there's this question of, oh, hey, have I sent everything that's on my schedule? The easy way to check this is, the fastest way is there's just no indication either via the statuses that are on here, or it's just doesn't have a color filling in with some sort of information. So that's a quick check. Like, did it get sent? I say thinks it got sent, then I'm good. If I have something here that I added later, then I need to send again, and it'll send those updated classes. All right, so we've done our initial build, we've sent to summer session, and now it's time to wait for the approvals. And so how do I find out where things are at? Well, there's a few different ways. On the sidebar, there's the summer session class approvals, where you can go and take a look and see whether or not stuff is approved, and you can sort by status. You can also look at that within the quarterly preview. The icon has been updated. Sorry, there we go. That's the correct icon, where you can highlight over it and you can see whether or not it's been approved. There's also that little book icon, whether or not it is green or not green. But you can also hover and get that information as well, where it says summer session approved. In this case, it's a cross-enrolled course, so you can also see the poli-sci is the lead unit here. This screen also shows something else, which is that one of the instructors was not approved. So in this case, for my third offering, that C00 offering there, the course has been approved, but the instructor is not. I don't think that's going to happen, but it is a possibility. It is there. Technically, it's possible someone could not show up yet. It's more likely the instructor is going to be pending because they haven't shown up in whatever systems they need to show up in yet. So you can still see them on your ISA schedule, so that everything's built for what you need for your reference, but it's not going to get passed on to the registrar. If a class is approved, but an instructor is not, the class can still go to the registrar for scheduling and room placement. But the instructor will not be sent, and that will have to be a change request later. And then another way to check to see where things are approved is again back on the summer session schedule builder, and anything that's green or has that summer session approved. Iconography and text tells you that it has been approved. Lisa talked about cancellations. This is something that you can do at any time after you send for approval. Whether it's been approved, whether it's pending, you just go through that process, do the things you need to do your acknowledgements, and then you're good to go. All right, so notice here for number 3, it still says in progress. You may be waiting on approvals for your classes, but we're still going to want you to get started on finishing your schedule build as soon as possible. I'm going to focus on the quarterly preview. You're also welcome to use the QSB. There's a few different ways to access this, but I'm going to focus on the quarterly preview in the training. So every class is going to, that was entered in the SSSB will be shown in the correct term in the quarterly preview. And that's one thing to keep in mind, is because there's 3 terms in summer that are supported within the ISA, so S1, S2, and S3. You need to make sure to finish your schedule builds in each of those terms. You'll need to add your discussion sections. You'll need to set up your days and times, meetings, etc. All those other things need to be done. Those are not relevant to what you send to summer session. So you can send a summer session before you've built out all those things. You just need to get the classes into the summer session schedule builder. But all the class structural details, like how many discussions, enrollment limits, meeting times, meeting locations, those all still need to get built. And then, of course, make sure to select our class, as Lisa said, if it's a remote offering. Okay, so here we are. This happens to be a cross-listed class. So once you are in the QSB, you're going to then click on class details. That's going to bring you to this screen. In this case, we can see that this is cross-enrolled here. We can see the linked classes here. We can also see that I am the lead unit. I've got that little crown. You can change the lead unit from here. You're going to click on class components, and in here, you're going to need to add, this tells me that I'm going to need to add a secondary component, which in this case, I think is probably discussions. So I'll need to click on that little plus by secondary. It's going to then take me through all the things to create that section, which I'll get to. And then in this case, my A00, my primary offering, I also need to set an enrollment limit. I haven't created a meeting yet, a meeting time. So I need to go and create a meeting time, and then we're going to go through and see what that looks like really quickly. So, so when I'm editing a plan section or creating a plan section, you can see I've got these information here. So I select my instruction type, set my enrollment limit. This is required. Even if you are approving all enrollment, in which case you would set it to 0. And then I need to add my meeting times, which, you select your times, select your location, whether or not you're doing campus space, or not. You can also set TBD and all of that stuff. You can add additional instructors for the class. If you're one of the few, very, very few units who does instructors by section, then you can also add what's called a section level override for an instructor. That will don't do it unless you know for sure that you need to do it. That's all I'll say about that. If you're not sure, just ask, and we'll walk you through it. All right, we have about another minute or 2-minute break, and then we'll hop into, I think Q&A is next. But yeah, so I'll see everyone back here at 10:44. I was wrong. Q&A is not next. We'll talk about submitting to the registrar next, and then Q&A. Is there an animal that's happier than the quokka?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But red pandas, they're a they could be a close-ish second.
Yes, that's true. I should do a red panda picture.
Especially when they're doing big arms.
Yes.
There's
Funny
some
that
weird like bird that has a giant wide smiley mouth too.
this is true.
I can't think of its name. It's like a big mouth something.
That's accurate.
Appropriate.
Oh,
I think it's called the tawny frog mouth.
tawny frog mouth.
I'm gonna Google it right now.
And it's when their mouths are open that they get these giant like mouths.
Oh,
I see it.
When it's closed, they just kind of look like, "Mm." But then when it opens, it's like it changes everything.
that's funny. It's actually this wonderful dichotomy from like maximum Trump to like maximum happiness.
Right? It's like a before and after.
That's so funny.
Before
Yes.
donuts, after donuts.
There's got to be a meme related to this. I'll have to look at those links.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
Uh-oh. Did my animation? There we go. Okay. Well, it is 10:45. All right. So we finished schedule build. We've done all the things. Now it's time to submit to the registrar. All right. So on the quarterly preview page, you're gonna click on that button. I'll show you what it looks like. And then there's steps to go through, which is you're going to look at the classes that you're going to get a list of classes that won't be submitted because they haven't yet been approved by summer session. That doesn't mean that they won't eventually end up on the schedule. They just won't end up in the look, and then you'll have to do those extra steps that Lisa had talked about. You'll also get a list of classes that will have blank instructors sent because the instructors haven't been approved yet. And then you'll need to do a final review for validation errors and warnings. Errors will prevent you from submitting. Warnings will allow you to submit, but you should still check them. There will be a link to the supplementary scheduling survey. A good chunk of you will need to use that for regular terms. I honestly don't know how common it is for summer session. I'll let one of the experts speak to that. And then you'll
Much
submit.
less common.
Okay, that was my guess.
Occasional, but so yes, when needed, but much less common.
Right. Okay. So yeah, so you're in the quarterly preview. There's that nice button that says proceed to schedule submission wizard, and then it's going to take you through the steps. First step is anything that has a validation error. In this case, I'm missing enrollment limit and probably at least one other error. The interface has changed a little bit, but it's still basically the same. It's going to only show you things with validation errors. Oh no, sorry. Pending is going to show you everything. Oh, sorry. No, first step is, I'm so sorry. First step is things that will not be sent to the registrar because the class has not been approved by summer session yet. So it's basically saying this offering will not be sent. And then step 2 will be classes where an instructor is not approved. So in this case, I have an instructor who's been denied. In this case, if I was also pending, that it would show up here. So this class will be sent, but the instructor will not. You can see the notes at the top here.
Which is totally fine.
Yes. Yeah. And then there will be anything that has any errors, which in my case, oh no, sorry. Then it will be here's the whole set of information that will actually be sent to the registrar. So it'll have stripped out any classes that aren't approved yet, and it'll have pulled out any instructors. from classes that are approved, but the instructor is not approved. And it'll show you, here's the set of data that's actually going to go to the registrar. Then you'll have your link to your scheduling survey. And then if there are any validation errors at this point that you haven't resolved, you'll have to go and fix them. And so in this case, there's some set of validation errors on this class. And then at the end, you'll go and take, so here's my set of validation errors. I'm missing instruction types, so I haven't gone and like created my discussion sections yet. And I haven't set enrollment limits for what I have. So once I go and fix all of that, then I will go back through the submission wizard and I'll get to this final step. And then it will be like, hey, look, everything's good. I'm not showing you any errors. So that I do my attestation that I've done the activities and communicated with my chair and all my unit leadership, and then I'm good to go. And then you submit. And then when you're done submitting, you are submitted, and then you wait for either the look or you wait to hear back from the registrar because there's something that didn't get caught by validation or some other weirdness that has happened. So any questions? Let's hear them. Let's yeah. If there are no questions, then I'm also happy to give everyone some time back.
I guess do reach out, you guys, if you have questions, and do come to those office hours. I think those are really great and helpful.